And we started with 16 teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now we're down to 2. The Stanley Cup finals are finally here, guys. All you hockey fans out there. It's the rematch that many of us have been waiting for, have been anticipated. We got the Florida Panthers going up against the Edmonton Oilers once again in the Stanley Cup finals. A rematch from last year, as you guys remember. That was a great Stanley Cup final. Went to Game 7. Florida was up 3-0 in that series. And then Edmonton won games 4, 5, and 6. Forced to Game 7 back in Florida. And then Florida won 2-1 to win their first Stanley Cup final in their franchise history. So, Stanley Cup finals this Wednesday night. The rematch. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait for it. But that's what we're going to talk about today. We got the NBA finals too. 2 teams looking to win their first NBA championship in their franchise's history. We'll dive into that a little bit. We got some fights to talk about. You got UFC 316 pay-per-view going on this weekend, and then we're going to wrap things up talking about Savannah Tini. She got her fight tomorrow in Nashville, Tennessee. She's looking to go 5-0 on her pro boxing career. I know she's going to do absolutely phenomenal because she's amazing. Her last fight in Nashville back in April, she looked absolutely phenomenal. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. But we got to talk about hockey. So the Stanley Cup finals, like I said, are finally here. We had 16 teams. Now we're down to 2. Edmonton Oilers, led by Connor McDavid, the best hockey player in the world right now. You could debate me on that, but he is the best, in my opinion. Going up against the Florida Panthers, who all of a sudden, I tell you what, that series against the Toronto Maple Leafs, the second round of the playoffs, like games 5, 6, and 7 against the Toronto Maple Leafs, they came alive all of a sudden. I mean, they came out of nowhere. I mean, they win 6-1 in Game 7, right? I mean, they absolutely dominated on the road in Toronto, and then they come play the Carolina Hurricanes, and then they win that series 4-1. So, who has the hot hand here right now? Is the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champs, or the Edmonton Oilers, who have dominated as well on the Western side, the Western Conference, in these Stanley Cup playoffs? Like I said, this is going to be a very interesting, very entertaining Stanley Cup Finals. Once again, it is the rematch we've all been anticipating, we've all been waiting for. Panthers, Oilers. Panthers 1-7. Obviously, from last year's Stanley Cup, they were up 3-0. Edmonton forced to Game 7. Like I said, the best Stanley Cup Finals I ever watched. First in franchise history, as I mentioned. And also, lots of stats, lots of history going into this Stanley Cup Final. It's the first Stanley Cup Final rematch since the 2008 and 2009 matchup between the Detroit Red Wings and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And all you Detroit Red Wings fans out there, you all remember 2008. We beat the Penguins on the road to win a Stanley Cup back in 2008. But then in 2009, we unfortunately lost to those same Pittsburgh Penguins. So first rematch in over 15 years. I mean, that's amazing, right? I mean, it's very rare to have the same teams play in back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals. But the first one since 2008 and 2009. So very interesting there. And then we have to go back to 1983 and 1984. So 1983 and 84, the New York Islanders, we all know the 80s, when the 80s started, from the 1980 to 1984. The New York Islanders won 4 straight Stanley Cups. I mean, they were the best team in the NHL. I get it, less teams back then, but they were damn good, okay? So, gotta give them their props. But, anyways, 1983 to 1984, they beat the Oilers back in 1983, 4-0 in that series to win their third Stanley Cup. But then the Oilers came back the following year, 1984, to beat those same Islanders 4-1 in that series. So you have that going on. Now we got to fast forward to 2008 and 2009. As I mentioned, the Detroit Red Wings beat the Penguins back in 2008. That was awesome. I was 11 years old. Me, my dad, and my brother watched it in our den. It was amazing. Great moment. One of the greatest moments I've ever witnessed in my life. So we had that going on. We beat them in 6 games, 4-2. But then the Penguins came back the following year, 2009, and beat us, the Detroit Red Wings, in Game 7. That crazy, unbelievable Game 7. They won 4-3 in that series, winning their Stanley Cup there. So, and then the thing about that series too, the Red Wings are up 2-0 early in that series. Now, I mean, we were up 3-2 at one point. We had one more game to seal the deal, but Penguins came back and won in Game 7. So, should have been back-to-back Stanley Cups for the Red Wings, my opinion. 2008, 2009, Red Wings should have won the Stanley Cup back-to-back years. It didn't happen. It is what it is, but it seems like, in these rematches, they come back. The losing team wins the next time. So Islanders beat the Oilers in 1983, and then the Oilers beat the Islanders in 1984, a year later. And then 2008, the Detroit Red Wings beat the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2008, and then 2009, the following year, the Pittsburgh Penguins in the rematch beat the Detroit Red Wings. So now 2024, last year, the Florida Panthers beat the Edmonton Oilers in Game 7. So now 2025, what's going to happen? Are we going to see back-to-back Stanley Cup championships from the Florida Panthers, or is Edmonton going to avenge their loss from last year's Stanley Cup final? I don't know. That's an interesting trend there. I saw that on a sports page on social media. So something to look out for, something to definitely keep your eye on. So I want to talk about a little bit about that Stanley Cup final last year with the Panthers. So they were up 3-0, as I mentioned. They won 3-0 in Game 1, 4-1 in Game 2, 4-3 in Game 3. So I'm already thinking, I'm watching these games last year. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a total sweep by the Florida Panthers. They're the best team right now. Edmonton's not even competing. But hold on. All of a sudden, you have 7 games to win the Stanley Cup, right? I mean, they give you 7 games, but you have 7 tries to try to win the Stanley Cup, right? So hold on. Florida's kicking ass, right? Edmonton's not doing anything. They look god-awful. Why are they in the Stanley Cup finals? Like, how did this team not get beat in the earlier rounds of the playoffs? But hold on. Game 4 happens, and then they won 8-1. Yeah, 8-1. That's a baseball score, not a hockey score, a baseball score. 8-1 in Game 4, and that was the turning point. I mean, yes, they still lost the Stanley Cup finals. I get that, in Game 7. But only 2-1. I mean, very close matchup in Game 7. Like I said, best Stanley Cup playoffs I've watched in my entire life. My opinion. And hopefully, what we see Wednesday night, hopefully this rematch is a lot better. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to beat last year's Stanley Cup final. But anyways, Game 4, last year's Stanley Cup final, Edmonton wins 8-1. And then, unfortunately, they lost, going to Game 7, 2-1. But, I mean, the question is, are they going to avenge that loss? Are they going to pull an Edmonton Oilers from 1984? Are they going to pull Pittsburgh Penguins from 2009 after they lost the previous year in the Stanley Cup finals? It's possible. But then Florida's looking to be back-to-back champs. So there's a lot on the line for the Stanley Cup the Stanley Cup finals, rather. I think it's going to be entertaining. And, these are the 2 best teams, right? And obviously that's what you want for the Stanley Cup final. Any sports, Super Bowl, World Series, NBA Finals, we'll get to that in a little bit. Stanley Cup Finals, whatever. Boxing fight, two of the best going at it for the championship, right? This is it. Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers, these are the 2 best teams right now. Fair enough, right? Obviously, makes sense. But what they've been doing in these playoffs, both of these teams, I mean, it does make sense. It warrants them being the best teams in the Stanley Cup Finals. So you have that. So how did these 2 teams get to this point? Like I said, we started with 16 teams. That's a lot of teams to get through to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. But now we got 2. So how did the Florida Panthers get here? Well, let's just go back to the conference championship. So the Eastern Conference Finals. We got the Florida Panthers beating the Carolina Hurricanes 4-1 in that series. They took 4 games out of that. And then the Oilers on the Western in the Western Conference, they beat the Dallas Stars 4-1. Again, 5 games. That's all it took for these 2 teams to advance to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then we got to talk about the Hurricanes a little bit because, we talk a lot of crap about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know a few weeks ago I was on the podcast here on Guys Time, and I was talking about the Maple Leafs losing 7 straight Game 7s, which is awful. I mean, it is god-awful. It's disgusting. It's horrible. You're a professional hockey team, won an original 6. It's embarrassing for that entire city of Toronto. I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, I don't even feel bad for them. 7 straight Game 7s, like, what are we doing here? So you thought that was bad. The Carolina Hurricanes, when they show up in the Eastern Conference Finals, they choke. I mean, they just can't get past the Eastern Conference Finals. So they've lost three conference finals, that they've been in. We got to go all the way back to 2018-19 seasons, so the 2019 playoffs. They lost to the Bruins in the Eastern Conference Finals 4-0. They got shut out by the Boston Bruins. And then you got to go back to 2023, a couple years ago. Shut out again by the Florida Panthers. It seems like that's their Achilles heel, their nemesis, right? Can't get past the Florida Panthers. And then obviously this year, 2025, they lose to the Panthers again, 4-1. They finally won an Eastern Conference Eastern Conference final game. It took them long enough. I mean, they lost like 15 straight until they won one earlier in the series. But 15 straight Eastern Conference final defeats. Like, I mean, at that point, looking at the Game 7 losing streak, 7 straight Game 7 defeats from the Toronto Maple Leafs, looking at that, doesn't seem so bad when you've lost 15 straight Eastern Conference Finals games like the Carolina Hurricanes did until they won one. Finally, right? It took them almost 20 years. We did the stats on that, I do believe, last week. But Carolina, what's going on here? Rod Brind'Amour, is he going to even have a job? I get it. He was a player. He won the Stanley Cup as the captain in 2006. But that was damn near 20 years ago. Fast forward to 2025, Jack. You got to get past the Eastern Conference Finals. It's embarrassing. Like I said, I don't feel bad for Toronto's fans. I don't feel bad for Carolina's fans. Something needs to happen. You got to get past the conference finals. You lost 3 of them in a span of 6 years. What's going on? Get it figured out, Carolina. I don't know. If you can't beat the Florida Panthers, well, what are you going to do? So you have that going on. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I know it's kind of, out of the way or kind of random when we're talking about the Stanley Cup Finals, and obviously the Hurricanes are not in it. But I figured just to point that out, just for entertainment purposes, obviously. But no, it's crazy. It's craziness. Carolina's got to figure something out. So with that being said, all that craziness, Stanley Cup Finals, Game 1, Wednesday. I know, weird day. I don't understand it. Whatever. Weird time, too. 8 o'clock. Like, dude, put that on 7. Like, is this game going to go till 11 o'clock? I don't want to sound like an old man, but, 7 o'clock gets done by like 10, maybe 10:30. Sure. But 8 o'clock on a Wednesday. I'm telling you. And wait till we get into the NBA Finals and I'm going to tell you what time that is and what day it is. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals between the Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. Wednesday, 8 p.m. on TNT in Edmonton. So Edmonton's got home ice. They got the home field advantage for Game 1. This is going to be a very interesting game. Who's going to win Game 1? The Bride's pick. I'm going to go with Edmonton. I'm going to go with Edmonton at home. I think they're going to set the tone early. You got to get Connor McDavid. He's got to score a goal or get Leon Draisaitl. Get one of those guys going. Zach Hyman's out for the rest of the playoffs. He got hurt in that Dallas series against the Dallas Stars. So another star player not going to be able to compete in the Stanley Cup Finals. But Edmonton's going to set the tone early. I think they win this one. I'm looking at like a 3-1 victory, maybe even like a 2-1 or 3-2 victory for the Edmonton Oilers. But they're going to win Game 1 at home, on home ice. They're going to set the tone for the rest of the Stanley Cup Finals. It's going to be exciting. Place your bets Wednesday, 8 p.m. TNT. You don't want to miss that one. The rematch from last year's Stanley Cup playoffs or Stanley Cup Finals. Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers. Place your bets right now. It's going to be amazing. So we have that going on for hockey. So now we got to hop over to the NBA. I know we haven't talked about the NBA in a few weeks. My Detroit Pistons got eliminated by the Knicks in the first round. Heartbreaking. But lots of good things coming for the Detroit Pistons, hopefully. They were the worst team last year. They only won, 14 games last year? That is god-awful. Disgusting. But now you have a new coach, JB Bickerstaff. That guy's amazing. And I'm surprised he didn't win Coach of the Year. he turned that team completely around. They competed in the playoffs this year. Yes, they got eliminated, but going from the worst team in the NBA to a playoff team this year, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So JB Bickerstaff and that entire Detroit Pistons organization, a bright future I'm seeing, hopefully, from the Detroit Pistons. Hopefully they can, they got a lot of young guys. Maybe they can get some, you got to get a big guy. You got to get another shooter as well. Because, Cade Cunningham can't do everything. Dennis Schroeder, he did really well in the playoffs as well. Malik Beasley, I mean, these guys can't be the only ones doing stuff for the Detroit Pistons. But a bright future ahead for the Detroit Pistons. Hopefully they do well going into next year. But now we got the NBA Finals. Again, 16 teams started the NBA playoffs. Now we're down to 2. And it's a very interesting matchup because these 2 teams are seeking their first title in their franchise history. Both of these teams, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, they never won a championship. So this is very interesting. I actually might have to watch this series just to see who wins because 2 teams going at seeking their first title in franchise history. I like it. And we always see like the Boston Celtics in there. We see, I don't know, like the Lakers, even though they got destroyed by the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first round of the playoffs this year. You see the same teams. Cavaliers, they were a good team. They got bounced by the Pacers in 5 games. That was crazy because Cavaliers were a number 1 seed. The Milwaukee Bucks, kind of see them go far in the playoffs. But now we have 2 teams who've never won a NBA championship. So Pacers, Thunder, like I said, both are seeking their first title in franchise history. The Pacers, this is their first final, their first NBA final since 2000. I was 3 years old the last time the Pacers went to the NBA final. Obviously, they lost to the Lakers in 6 games, 4-2 that year. And then obviously you already know what happened there. That the Lakers started their three-peat. They won in 2000, 2001, and 2002. Shaq and the late great Kobe Bryant. Great years there for the Lakers. So you have that going on in the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're in their first NBA final since 2012. I was 15 years old when the last time the Oklahoma City Thunder went to the NBA Finals. And they lost 4-1. They lost in 5 games to the Miami Heat. That was when LeBron James was there, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. They had the 3 Musketeers, I guess you can say. They went to 4 straight finals during that period. And they won like 2. I mean, they could have won a lot more. You remember the press conference. We're not going to win 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Yeah, you only won 2, and that 2 is better than none, right? I'll give them that, but yeah, they came off kind of looking like a bunch of boneheads there. But anyway, Oklahoma City Thunder, first final since 2012. Indiana Pacers, first final since 2000. Both seeking their first title in franchise's history. So whoever comes out, they're going to win their first championship. So the Bryes might actually have to watch some basketball, NBA basketball. Oh, I know. That's what? The Zach Bryes watches the NBA, especially today's NBA where there's no defense? Yes, because this is history. And I'm all about witnessing history, making history. I might actually have to tune in for this one. So how did both of these teams get to this point? Like I said, 16 teams. Same with the Stanley Cup playoffs. 16 teams down to 2. So Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 4-1 in 5 games. And they dominated in Game 5, 124-94. 30 points. They kicked the Minnesota Twins' butt. And they destroyed them. So you had that going on. And then the Pacers, they beat the New York Knicks. So the Knicks fans, once again, hearts broken. Stephen A. Smith, probably not the happiest guy right now. But wham, he can cry another day. They win in 6 games. The Pacers do, 4-2. 125 to 108, excuse me. A dominant performance by the Pacers. But yeah, the Knicks continue, not winning a championship. I think they're going on like 50 damn plus years, something like that. 1970 something. It's irrelevant. We don't care about the Knicks. I mean, New York fans do, and Stephen A. Smith does, but the Bry's here in Michigan, everywhere else, we don't care about the Knicks. But anyways, but Pacers got past them, but just some key players to look out for in this NBA Finals. So we got to talk about the Pacers a little bit. So Pascal Siakam from the Pacers, he leads the team in this postseason with points. 21 points per game, 5.8 rebounds. I mean, this guy is great. This guy's amazing. I mean, this is your key guy coming into the NBA Finals. So that's on the Pacers side. And then we got to talk about the Oklahoma City sensation, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or he's known as SGA by the fans in Oklahoma City. Almost 30 points per game, 29.8 points per game, 6.9, almost 7 assists in the NBA postseason. Game 1, Thursday, 8:30 p.m. on ABC in Oklahoma. He was the reigning. I forgot to mention this. He was the reigning MVP this year. He did absolutely phenomenal for Oklahoma City Thunder. Probably one of the key reasons why they're in the NBA Finals right now, because SGA is just taking over. So I don't know. Not really a big basketball guy. You guys know. I know I should be watching more, but like I said, the Pistons doing great now. Might have to spark some interest, but it's just so hard to watch the NBA. I mean, I'm not the only one who thinks it. I mean, I see the comments all the time. The NBA, it's heartbreaking to watch because it's not like 20, 30, 40 plus years ago when you can actually play defense and not get fouled. You hear the whistle like every 5 seconds today. It's pathetic, but whatever. But game 1 of the NBA Finals, Thursday, 8:30. Yeah, I told you earlier, a weird day and a time for the NBA Finals. Thursday, 8:30. Kind of weird. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I'm just an old fart. Whatever. But weird time, weird day. But game 1 officially this Thursday, 8:30 p.m. on ABC. Oklahoma City Thunder going up against the Indiana Pacers in Oklahoma City. So they got the home field advantage. So both Western Conference teams from both the NBA and the NHL hosts game 1. So who's going to win this one? I got to go with Oklahoma City Thunder, right? You got to go with the home team. You got to go with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or SGA. I know, sorry, behind with the times, right? But SGA and the rest of that Oklahoma City Thunder squad going to set the tone at home against the Indiana Pacers. But the Indiana Pacers, seeing some highlights, they're fighters, man. They don't quit. They can be down by like 20 points with like 2 minutes left or 3 minutes left, come back and tie the game, or even win by a point. So a fighting team from the Indiana Pacers, but Oklahoma City Thunder, I believe, will win game 1 at home, set the tone for the rest of these NBA Finals. So all you NBA fans, I know there's only a few of you, but watch this game. The Brides, like I said, I actually might have to watch this game. Like I said, history's going to be made. 2 teams who never won an NBA championship. It's been a long time since they've been to the NBA Finals, especially the Pacers, 2000. I mean, damn, 3 years old, dude, me. And I'm 28 now. Oklahoma City Thunder, as I mentioned, 2012 was the last time they made it to the Finals. But 2 teams seeking their first title. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Game 1 this Thursday night, 8:30, ABC. Place your bets. I got the Oklahoma City Thunder winning game 1. You guys can debate me on that at another time. So that's the NBA. Now we got to hop over to my Detroit Tigers. They're doing absolutely phenomenal, by the way. I mean, they won 2 out of 3 against the Kansas City Royals. They needed that. Kansas City's in the AL Central with us. So winning 2 out of 3, great. That Friday night game was back and forth. It was fantastic. It got a little scary there towards the end, but Will Vest coming in, our closer, handling his business. They win 7-5 on Friday. They lost 1-0 on Saturday. I mean, 1-0, and then they win. The Tigers did 1-0. So lack of run support. I don't know what the hell happened those past 2 days against the Kansas City Royals. But now you got to go to Chicago. The White Sox, I know they're not the greatest, but it's a division team. They're going to play hard. It's at their home turf. We got them tonight at 7:40. But I want to talk about that game real quick. Saturday. Tarek Skubal, our ace. I mean, the guy's fantastic. 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. And they lose 1-0 to the Detroit Tigers. Like, Tarek Skubal can only do so much. I mean, what more does this guy have to do? I mean, gotta help him out. When you lose 1-0, that's pathetic. You got 9 innings to get runs, and you get shut out 1-0. I mean, not only is it a boring-ass game, but you got shut out by 1 run. And your pitcher, your ace, your main guy, dominated again, like he does. Every single time he's on the mound. Every single time Tarek Skubal is ready to go. You know it's must-see TV. You know he's going to throw that heat. You know he's going to throw some dirty stuff. You know he's going to have a great game. You got to help him out on the offensive side. Maybe just a little bit, right? So that kind of bothered me a little bit, but they made up for it yesterday. They won 1-0, right? And it's like, oh, Kansas City wins 1-0. Maybe the Detroit Tigers will win 1-0. Well, they did. Yesterday, 1-0. Like I said, they take 2 out of 3 against their division rival, the Kansas City Royals. 5 hits only from the Detroit Tigers, so those bats need to come alive tonight against Chicago. Green had 2 hits in that game yesterday against the Royals. Zach McKinstry had the only run scored in the entire game, and for the Tigers. So, good. Now, I mean, at least we got one run in, right? And then Chase Lee gets his second win. He's 2-0 for the Tigers, reliever. He did his part. Kaider Montero, 4.2 innings pitched, 7 hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Not the greatest outing, but you know what? We'll take the win. And that's all that matters. So, yeah, that. And then, obviously, like I mentioned a little while ago, next game tonight, no days off, it seems like, for the Tigers. It seems like they're playing every day. And, you know, good. I mean, keep that momentum going, right? But they play tonight in Chicago. They have a 4-game series against the Chicago White Sox starting tonight, 7:40 p.m. Jack Flaherty's on the mound. He looked pretty good in his last start. I will give him that. He looked pretty good against San Fran last week. He looked damn good. He's got to keep going. He's got to keep moving forward, pick up the pace a little bit, but he's got to continue the good streak there. So Jack Flaherty's pitching tonight, 7:40 against the White Sox. They're 18-41. Like I said, not the greatest team in the MLB, but no one. I mean, there's 30 teams in the MLB, right? Yeah, 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Nobody is worse than the Colorado Rockies. I mean, if you're in Colorado and you're a Rockies fan, which it's hard to believe. I mean, I don't know how they even have people in the stands, and it's not that many. I've seen highlights. Not a lot of people are wasting their money and time watching that garbage of a team. 9-50, the Colorado Rockies are 9-50. They don't even have double-digit wins, and it's the beginning of June. The season started in April. 2 months, and you can't even muster double-digit wins. Colorado, what the hell is going on, man? 9-50 after 59 games? Oh, man. I remember when the Tigers were bad, but that was 20 years ago. Hopefully, pray to God, that never happens again. But Colorado, 9-50. Whew. Man. I mean, Chicago's only 18-41. At least they got double-digit wins. I mean, that's still horrible. That's a horrible record. But the Colorado Rockies, 9-50. How do you even explain that? Yikes. I mean, they lost to the Mets yesterday. And I read somewhere on one of the sports pages on social media, they're on pace. I think it was it was a betting website. Probably FanDuel Sports, or DraftKings. One of those two. They're on pace to lose 130 plus games, which would be the worst in MLB history. I had Tyler Mizzy. Shout out to him, by the way. I had him on, about over a month ago, and we were talking a little bit about the Rockies. Dude, oh man, 9-50. I mean, I don't know. That's inexcusable. This is the MLB, man. You got to figure it out. 2 months and you can't even muster double-digit wins. 9-50 after 59 games. I mean, I don't know how you're going to explain that to Colorado, the season ticket holders. I mean, you better give them a discount or free entry to that ballpark because that's disgusting. So, talk about that a little bit. Had to because, Colorado, god-awful baseball team. But the Detroit Tigers, 4-game series against the White Sox. I mean, let's handle our business. It starts tonight, 7:40, FanDuel Sports Detroit. Check it out. Place your bets. Jack Flaherty at the mound. It's going to be exciting. And then after that series, we come back home to face the Chicago Cubs. And they're pretty damn good this year. So watch out for them. And then we got to go on the road again to play the Baltimore Orioles. Not a good team this year. And then we play the Cincinnati Reds. Pretty decent this year so far. So back and forth it seems like. We're on the road. We come back for a 3-game series. We're on the road. We come back for another 3-game series. So it starts tonight. Chicago White Sox, Detroit Tigers, 7:40. Jack Flaherty, handle your business. Do what you got to do. Colorado Rockies, you are absolute garbage. Figure it out. 9-50 after 59 games. Get out of here with that junk. But go Tigers. Keep doing what you're doing. It's going to be a good one. So watch some Tigers tonight. Obviously, the Stanley Cup Finals don't come on until Wednesday night. Weird time, 8 o'clock. And then NBA Finals don't come on until Thursday, 8:30. Another weird day and time. But yeah, watch some Detroit Tigers baseball. So you have that. Now we got to talk about UFC. So UFC, obviously this weekend, lots of craziness going on. I mean, we were supposed to have a great main event on paper. 2 of the top women's flyweight fighters. 2 of the top 5 in that division. Erin Blanchfield versus Macy Barber. Erin Blanchfield, number 4 in the UFC women's flyweight division. Macy Barber, number 5 in the same division. They were supposed to go at it. It gets canceled. Like, I never seen it like live like that. Like, they actually said, they were like, oh, this fight might not be happening. I'm just like, wait a minute, what? And then they come back to the commercial break and they're talking about it. And I'm just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Because we talked about it last week. Macy Barber has a history of pulling out from fights. And she's had some health issues these past few years. It sucks. It's horrible. I feel bad for her, and I hope she's doing well because I heard she had a seizure. That's what was reported. Okay? So take it with a grain of salt, but I hope she's doing better. I really do. Hopefully they come out with an update today sometime. Like to really know what the hell happened this past weekend. Because a lot of people wanted to see this fight. I mean, whoever wins this fight possibly gets a title shot against Valentina Shevchenko for the UFC flyweight, the women's flyweight title. Right? I mean, 2 top 4 UFC flyweights going at it. I mean, it makes sense, right? But it didn't happen. And I was just like, oh, I was heartbroken. I wanted to see this fight. I'm sure there was a lot of fans who wanted to see this fight, but it got canceled. It was so weird. Like I said, I never seen a main event fight. Like, other fights I've seen like get canceled at the last minute. I get that. But a main event fight? Like, dude, you didn't have another UFC flyweight, women's flyweight on board, made weight, a replacement. They do it for pay-per-views all the time. They always do it for pay-per-views, especially for title fights. And I know this wasn't a title fight, but for title fights, they always have a replacement. They didn't have a replacement this time? I mean, dude, 2 top 5 women's flyweight fighters. I mean, like I said, who wins it? Whoever would have won this fight probably goes on to fight Valentina Shevchenko for her title, for the UFC flyweight title. It didn't happen. You didn't have a replacement though, like Natalia Silva maybe. I don't know. It didn't make sense. So bummer. This past weekend, I wanted to see the fight. It gets canceled. Like I said, Macy Barber had a medical issue. It was reported that she had a seizure, so hopefully they come out with an update with that. But you got to feel for Erin Blanchfield, her opponent. I mean, fight, her camp. I mean, she's training her ass off. She's cutting weight. I mean, she got through the toughest part, the horrible part, The part that absolutely sucks as a fighter. And then she has to be pissed. And I saw something, I think from MMA Fighting's page on Facebook. She did get paid her full salary. So I don't know if that's true or not. But, I mean, that's what I was thinking, too. It's like, man, she's missing out on a huge payday. But if it's true that she did get paid for just being there, I guess, good for her. But, I mean, she's a fighter. She wants to fight. Fight camp. It's not pretty. It's not fun. It's not supposed to be fun. She got through the hardest part. She's ready to dominate. She's ready to be a warrior, enter the octagon, and handle her business. Fight and dominate. So maybe she gets that title shot against Valentina Shevchenko. It didn't happen. But if she got paid, great. I mean, that's one good side at looking things. But if you're Aaron Blanchfield now, it's like, who do you go up against? Like Natalia Silva, perhaps? I mean, I'm looking at these rankings right now. It's like, yeah, Natalia Silva is number one behind, obviously, champ Shevchenko. But who does Aaron Blanchfield go up against? You got Manon Fiorot at number two. You got Alexa Grasso, who just lost her fight recently to Natalia Silva a couple weeks ago. But then you got Aaron Blanchfield, number four. You know, who does she face? I mean, she wants to fight someone in the top five. So, I mean, kind of limits your options there. You got Alexa Grasso, Manon Fiorot, or Maycee Barber if she gets better. But that fight was supposed to happen. It didn't happen. So her options are very limited. If you're Aaron Blanchfield, I mean, she has to be heartbroken. I mean, if I'm a fighter getting ready for a fight, I'm destroying my body, trying to make weight, trying to, prepare myself for battle. And then all of a sudden I come to the UFC Apex or to the arena and my opponent pulls out of the fight because of a medical issue. Of course I'm going to be pissed. But, yeah, it was crazy. But, yeah, as I mentioned, Maycee Barber has a history of pulling out from fights. She's had health issues. It sucks. It's horrible. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm not Maycee Barber. I'm not her parent. I'm not her, boyfriend. I'm not her coach. Maybe a possible career change. I don't know. It's not my business to discuss, but very, very unfortunate. A fight that a lot of us fight fans wanted to see. It didn't happen. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Natalia Silva, like I said, that's Aaron Blanchfield's other option. You risk going against her. I mean, she dominated. And I mean, absolutely dominated Alexa Grasso, who defeated Valentina Shevchenko last year, choked her out, or a couple years ago, submitted her to become the champion. So a former world champion gets absolutely dominated by Natalia Silva. So do you want to go up against that beast if you're Aaron Blanchfield? We'll see. But yeah, Natalia Silva beat Alexa Grasso at UFC 315, a couple weeks ago, May 10th of 2025. She's on a 13-fight winning streak. So that's another, do you really want to go up against that person if you're Aaron Blanchfield? I mean, if she's a fighter, right? I mean, she wants to fight a women prospect in the flyweight division in the top five. That's your best bet. But it was horrible. I mean, damn, a fight we wanted to see. It didn't happen this weekend. But we do have UFC 316. And then Mateusz Gamrot, he won his fight. Nice to see him back in the win column. We'll see what happens with him down the line. But this weekend, we got UFC 316, rather. First pay-per-view of June. And I'm looking at June's, all their fight cards look pretty stacked. I mean, next week you got Kamaru Usman going up against Joaquin Buckley. At the end of the month, you got Ilia Topuria and Charles Oliveira going at it for the vacant UFC lightweight title. So, and then you got Jamal Hill a couple weeks from now going up against Khalil Roundtree Jr. and on that fight card. So June, if you're not busy all 4 Saturdays in June, you have lots of fights to watch. It's stacked on paper. It looks great. Hopefully they are great, but it starts with the pay-per-view. UFC 316 this Saturday, live from the Prudential Center in New Jersey. They've had some pretty good fight nights there, so great venue for this specific fight card. You got 2 title fights like usual, right? I mean, I appreciate it. Hopefully these two title fights are good. They're entertaining. You got the men's bantamweight title on the line and the women's bantamweight title on the line. And now another rematch. Just like the Stanley Cup Finals, we got another rematch for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. It's a rematch from UFC 306 between Merab Dvalishvili going against Sean O'Malley. We all remember that one. Merab dominated Sean O'Malley. He won by unanimous decision. I mean, Sean O'Malley had no answer for those takedowns in the grappling. So maybe this time he's been working on that, just knowing Merab Dvalishvili's style, because he's more of the grappler versus Sean O'Malley, who's more of a striker and boxer. We'll see. We'll see this Saturday night. But yeah, Merab comes in with a 19-4 record. He's a striker and freestyler, wrestler, grappler. You know, he likes to take you down, and he's gonna keep you there for 25 minutes if you let him. So Sean O'Malley, like I said, he's got to change the strategy a little bit coming to this fight. He comes in with an 18-2 record. Sean O'Malley does. He's the striker, obviously. He likes to throw hands. He's very entertaining. He's got that weird-ass hair. It changes color every single time we see him. He's fun to watch. Hopefully this fight is a good one. It's the main event. It's 5 rounds. It's for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. You got to handle your business. But who's going to win this one? Who's going to win this one? I'm looking at the odds right now. Minus 320 for Merab. Plus 250 for Sean O'Malley. I got to go with the champion. I'm going to go with Merab Dvalishvili. He's going to retain the title. Hopefully this one is a good fight. Because it just seems, I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like UFC's kind of declining a little bit. There's a lack of star power. That's my reasoning, right? I mean, John Jones, he hasn't fought since last November. All the guys we grew up watching, like Conor McGregor, who knows if he's ever going to fight again. Everyone's getting old. Dustin Poirier, he has his last fight in July going up against Max Holloway. Max Holloway's even getting old. Justin Gaethje's getting old. All these guys are getting old. So maybe that's the reason why UFC's kind of declining. Hopefully this pay-per-view, this fight card, kind of brings that popularity back for the UFC. They need it. They desperately need it. You know, they're done with their ESPN contract this year. There's been a lot of talks that they might move to Netflix. I don't know if I'm a big fan of that because, you know, Netflix has a lot of streaming issues. And then, you know, Netflix is going to be like $40 a month if that's the case, right? For all you Netflix subscribers out there. But we'll see. Well, like I said, hopefully this fight card brings up the rise of popularity once again for the UFC. I'm excited. You know, like I said, looking at all these fight cards in June, every single Saturday, it's pretty stacked. So, starts here. You got to set the tone this Saturday night. Main card starts at 10 o'clock. The prelims start at 8. And then early prelims on 6 o'clock. ESPN Plus, ESPN Plus, and obviously the pay-per-view. You got order that through ESPN Plus as well. So yeah, going back to, I want to talk about a little bit about their fight from UFC 306. Come into that fight, Sean O'Malley had a 6-fight winning streak. And then Merab Dvalishvili, he defended the title. His last fight was against Umar Nurmagomedov at UFC 311, which was back in January of this year. He won by unanimous decision. So that was his last fight. He has a 12-fight winning streak. Merab Dvalishvili, the UFC bantamweight champion. And he's beaten the likes of Sean O'Malley, right? And that's who he beat for the title. He beat Henry Cejudo, who's a former bantamweight champion. Peter Yan, Jose Aldo, Marlon Moraes, rather. So Merab Dvalishvili has a pretty good resume in terms of fighters he's beaten. But he's on a 12-fight winning streak. And I think he's going to be on a 13-fight winning streak after this weekend. So his last defeat, Merab's last defeat was he lost by a guillotine choke to Ricky Simon. 2018. Yeah, 7 years ago. The top song in 2018, all you millennials and Gen Zs remember this one, God's Plan by Drake. Oh, I remember it because they would play it nonstop on the radio. I heard it on like every single commercial, every single TV show, movie, on the radio. But yeah, that was the last time Merab Dvalishvili lost the fight. Been 7 years. Winning streaks come to an end. I don't think it's going to happen this weekend against Sean O'Malley. So I got Merab winning that fight, the main event. He's going to still hold the bantamweight title after it's all said and done. 5 rounds, main event. Merab Dvalishvili going up against Sean O'Malley. Live from Prudential Center in New Jersey. It's going to be a good one. Check that one out. But then the co-main event, we got the women's bantamweight title fight on the line. Another 5-round fight between Juliana Pena, the champion, going up against Kayla Harrison, a top prospect coming over from the PFL. So how did we get to this situation? So Juliana Pena, the champion, she won the title against Raquel Pennington back at UFC 307, which was last October. And she won that by split decision. And I watched that fight. Raquel Pennington could have won that fight. I don't know. But Juliana Pena got the split decision win. She's the champion. This is her first defense. She's a 2-time champ. You guys remember she beat Amanda Nunes, who arguably is the greatest women's fighter of all time, back in December 2021. Man, damn near 4 years now that happened. That was a crazy night. I remember watching that. But then she eventually lost the title to Amanda Nunes the following July of 2022, back at UFC 277. And then obviously she won the title at UFC 269. So Juliana Pena has had kind of interesting experience, kind of an interesting journey when it comes to the UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship, going back and forth with Amanda Nunes. And then Amanda Nunes wins the title. She retires. She has to give up the title, vacate the title. Raquel Pennington became the champion for the vacant title by beating Mayra Bueno Silva at UFC 297. Because, like I said, Amanda Nunes retired, so the vacant title was up for grabs. Raquel Pennington won, but then she lost, as I mentioned, last October. Split decision win she lost to Juliana Pena. So it's been kind of crazy for the UFC bantamweight division, women's bantamweight division, I should say. Craziness all around, right? But now you got this top prospect coming in, Kayla Harrison, 2-time Olympic gold medalist in judo. Judo, you throwing people, and Kayla Harrison, she's jacked, man. I wouldn't want to mess with her. She kicked my ass in a second. She is a big woman, and she's a strong woman. Judo, that's no joke. I've seen judo. We ran around Ronda Rousey, right? It's no joke. 2-time Olympic champion. She won Olympic gold in 2012 and 2016. So that's a lot of credentials right there. That's an eye-opener in the world of combat sports. So you have that going on. She's on a 3-fight winning streak. She's 2-0 in the UFC. She made her debut at UFC 300 last April. She won by rear naked choke to Holly Holm, who's one of the greatest women's fighters of all time, in the second round. So she handled her business fairly quickly against a great fighter in Holly Holm. But yeah, she's 2-0 in the UFC. She's dangerous, man. She comes in -700 favorite. These guys, they know what they're doing when they put these odds out there. And then Juliana Pena, she's had a history of being the underdog in a lot of her fights. She proves a lot of people wrong. She was the underdog against Amanda Nunes when she won the title back in December 2021 at UFC 269. She won that fight, right? I do believe she was the underdog against Raquel Pennington last October to win the UFC Women's Bantamweight title again. So she's had a history of being the underdog, people counting her out, and then shutting up all the critics. So my question is, does she do it again against Kayla Harrison? I don't know. But Kayla Harrison's last fight, she beat Ketlin Vieira at UFC 307 by unanimous decision. She had an overall 16-1 record in the PFL, the Professional Fighters League. And then Juliana Pena comes in with a 13-5 record. she's the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist. So she's going to try to grapple you, take you down. You know, with Kayla having that judo background, I don't know. I don't know if that's a smart game plan for Juliana Pena. I think Juliana Pena might want to use her fists, throw some hands in this fight. But Kayla Harrison comes in 18-1. She looks absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, definitely a crazy fight, a crazy matchup between these two. The UFC bantamweight, the women's bantamweight titles on the line in the co-main event, 5 rounds. Who is winning this one? I got to go with the contender, Kayla Harrison. Minus 700 odds, according to ESPN Bet. I mean, I'm going to take those odds. I'm sorry. I'm going to be one of those ones who goes against Juliana Pena. She's the underdog again. Hopefully she silenced me. But I think Kayla Harrison's going to come in and she's going to dominate. That weight cut go, that's going to be interesting for Kayla Harrison. Because, dude, when she's, in fight shape, like she's in the octagon, ready to kick some ass, like I said, that is a strong woman. Like I said, I'm not messing with her. I tell you what, I know. There's no way. I'm not messing with her at all. But that weight cut's going to be very interesting. So we'll see about that. But yeah, another title fight, 2 title fights on this card. What a great way to start off the June fight weekends, I guess, for UFC. Hopefully this fight card's one of the best. I mean, it would definitely be a great start, a great way to set the pace for the entire summer, because you know how the UFC likes to throw together a lot of big fights for the summer. So hopefully this one sets the tone, and then we can go forward from that. But yeah, you have that going on. Calvin Gastelum's on this card as well. Mario Batista versus Patchy Mix. So Patchy Mix, this guy's making his UFC debut. What a way to do that on a UFC pay-per-view. So good for him. He's on a 7-fight winning streak. It seems like submission's his go-to. He's won 4 out of 7 in that 7-fight winning streak. He's won 4 of them by submissions. So he comes from Bellator, had a good career there. Bantamweight bout, so 135. So small guys. It's going to be interesting. Going to be a lot of action. These guys have gas tanks that are infinite. Go on forever. But Mario Batista, he's on a 7-fight winning streak. So someone's losing. Unless there's a draw or no contest, someone's losing. 2 7-fight winning streaks for both fighters, Patchy Mix and Mario Batista. His last fight for Batista was against Jose Aldo. He won by split decision at UFC 307 last October. That's when Juliana Pena became the UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion, by the way. So this one's going to be a very interesting fight. Who's going to win this fight? Mario Batista comes in as the favorite. Patchy Mix is making his UFC debut, 20-1 record. Mario Batista comes in with a 15-2 record. I got to go with Mario Batista. I like the experience. He knows what it's all about for the UFC. But it's going to be very exciting. Lots of buzz behind Patchy Mix coming over from Bellator. So you have that fight going on. Now we got to talk about the first fight on the main card. Vicente Luque. Haven't heard his name in a while. Going against Kevin Holland. We always hear his name because he comes back like 2 months after he just got done fighting. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But that's how the fight card starts. The main card starts for UFC 316. Kevin Holland, Vicente Luque. Kevin Holland comes in minus 250 favorite. Vicente Luque is the plus 200 underdog. But yeah, Kevin Holland, another fight in a short amount of time, on short notice. We got to go all the way back to 2020, COVID year, right? He fought 5 times. That's unheard of. Champions don't even fight 5 times. This guy fought 5 times in 2020 during COVID, out of all places. He fought in May, August, September, October. That's insane. And December of 2020. Unbelievable. Then you got fast forward to 2021. He fought 3 times. March, April, a month apart. In this sport, that's insane. It's mixed martial arts. It's crazy. And then he fought in October, of 2021 as well. Then 2022, he fights 4 times that year. March, June, September, December. Okay? 2023, 3 times he fought. April, June, September. Last year, he fought 3 times. March, June, October. I mean, dude, is this guy a machine? Is he the Terminator? How in the hell does he just come back? Especially in this sport. I mean, you're getting kicked. You're getting choked. Elbows, forearms to your face. You're getting punched. You're getting kicked in the stomach, kicked in the face. Someone's trying to break your leg, break your arm, choke you out. I don't know how he does it. This guy's built like a machine. He's the damn Terminator. That should be his nickname. I mean, look at I just gave you all those fights. I mean, how many times he fought in the short amount of time he comes back. And then so far this year, this will be his third fight. He fought in January, March, so only 2 months of break, and he's already competing. And now it's June, so 3 months apart. And he's ready to go. And that's why I like him. Okay, does he win every fight? No. I mean, his fights are entertaining. I mean, he's a good fighter. But I appreciate his workload. I appreciate him keeping himself busy, being a fighter's fighter, being the people's champion. We like to see these type of guys who come back and fight because that's what you get paid to do. I like him. So another quick notice fight for Kevin Holland. His last fight was against Gunnar Nelson back in March of this year. He won that fight. And then Vicente Luque, he won his last fight by submission to Themba Gorimbo at UFC 310. So it's been a while for him, but that's going to be a very interesting fight. And then his resume for losses, unfortunately, he lost to Joaquin Buckley, who's competing next Saturday against Kamaru Usman. That's going to be a really interesting fight. Jeff Neal, he's lost to Bilal Muhammad. So Vicente Luque is definitely trying to set the tone and get a win against a pretty good welterweight in Kevin Holland. Who's going to win this fight, though? I'm going to go with Kevin Holland. I like Kevin Holland in this fight. I think he continues, just coming back on short notice. He loves to fight. He loves to fight for the fans. Great fighter. Like I said, he is a fighter's fighter. He comes back on short notice. This is his job. This is his livelihood. Entertaining guy, entertaining fighter. And I think he handles his business. He gets the win. He gets the victory against Vicente Luque. But it's going to be a great fight. That's a great fight to start off the main card for UFC 316 live this Saturday night. Main card starts at 10 p.m. Prelims at 8. Early prelims at 6. Live from the Prudential Center in New Jersey. They always put on good fight cards. So hopefully this fight card, as I mentioned numerous times, rises to popularity once again for the UFC. So check that one out. I gave you some of my picks for the fights. But go on ESPN Bets or DraftKings or FanDuel, wherever you make your sports bets. Bet on some fights this weekend. So UFC 316 we got on this weekend. We got the Stanley Cup playoffs on. Game 1 starting Wednesday night, 8 o'clock on TNT. You got the NBA Finals, Game 1 starting Thursday, 8:30 on ABC. But we end today's episode here on Guys Time talking about boxing. Savannah Tini, I mentioned her name numerous times these past couple weeks here on the podcast. But she's looking to go 5-0 in her pro boxing career. She's 4-0 right now. She was actually at a UFL, United Football League, football game this past weekend in Detroit. The Michigan Panthers were playing. And, she got a lot of publicity, which is good for her. She deserves it. She was there with Detroit's own Thomas the Hitman Hearns, one of the greatest boxers of all time. A Detroit sports icon, obviously. One of the greatest boxers of all time. He's Detroit sports royalty. Guy's amazing. And she had the opportunity to meet him, be on the field with him. I think she met Jake Bates, too, kicker for the Detroit Lions. So I'm sure she enjoyed that experience. Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Good for her. I love seeing that, especially people from New Way. I'm telling you, New Way Training Center, that's like my second family. I love you guys. But yeah, Savannah Tini, definitely a great moment for her. But now it's go time. Tomorrow night, Country Box. She's back in Nashville. They loved her last time. They brought her back in this time. She's going up against Simone Aparecida da Silva. Very experienced fighter, so this might be a tougher matchup for Savannah Tini. But knowing Savannah, watching her fights, especially her last fight, a couple months ago, back in April, when she was at Country Box in Nashville, she handled her business. She won that fight to make it 4-0. She's looking to go 5-0 on her pro boxing career starting tomorrow night. So check that one out. Sure, she's going to have all the links. You can go on Country Box Promotions, the YouTube channel. I do believe I think it's Country Box 24/7. Could be wrong on that, but Country Box 24/7. Just look up Country Box Nashville, Tennessee. You can watch it on their website. You can watch it on their YouTube channel. Savannah, Tini, if you don't follow her right now, she's on Instagram and Facebook. I'm pretty sure she's going to have all the links to the fights, especially her fight, obviously, but the links. She's going to have all those out probably today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, right? Because it's tomorrow. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. But if you don't follow her, follow her right now. I mean, she's on Instagram, Savannah, Tini. She's on Facebook. But be on the lookout for that. But yeah, Savannah, Tini looking to go 5-0 on her pro boxing career. So Savannah, shout out to you. Good luck. And I know you're going to kick some ass tomorrow night in Nashville. So good luck to Savannah. It's going to be amazing. And like I said, handling your business, kick some ass. I know you're going to do great, Savannah. So you have that going on, and that's how this episode ends. So thank you so much once again for joining me today on this edition of Guys Time. So you guys know the drill. I mean, we should play like a recording of this, right? Because I say it all the time. You guys know Guys Time's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You want to see my beautiful face, you can check the YouTube channel out. I'll have this up as soon as possible. If you want to hear my beautiful voice, you can check out Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But yeah, we got hockey. We got the Stanley Cup Finals. We got the NBA Finals. We got UFC 316 this Saturday night. Play some bets. Get active. Watch some sports with your family and friends. We got the Detroit Tigers on, opening up a 4-game series against the Chicago White Sox on the road. You got Jack Flaherty pitching tonight. He's got to set the tone. 7:40 p.m. in Chicago. Savannah, Tini, New Way Training Center, looking to go 5-0 on her pro boxing career. She will be in Nashville, Tennessee tomorrow night. Country Box Promotions. Be on the lookout for those links. If you don't follow her right now, you're not going to know where the hell to find her. So follow her on Instagram. Follow her on Facebook. She will definitely get those links out to you guys. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to watch it, obviously. She looked absolutely phenomenal in her last fight. This fight, I don't know, man. I think we're going to see a different beast in Savannah T. I think she's trying to set the tone for her career. She's trying to put herself out there. Might see a knockout from her. So, I don't know. I mean, it seems like, just the videos I've been watching on her Instagram, different mentality coming from Savannah T. I don't know. Maybe when she comes back, maybe I can do an interview with her. I'm sure she would love to have an interview. Like I said, New Way Training Center out there in Clinton Township, Michigan. They're like my second family. So maybe get another interview with her. And I know I got to get an interview with Kamel Macklid because he's fighting soon. I don't have the date yet, but once I have the date, I'll let you guys know. It's going to be very exciting. That's all I got. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want him getting in trouble with his management team. So, but it's going to be very exciting regardless. But despite all that, Savannah Tini, do your thing. I know you're going to do great tomorrow. Kick some ass. 5-0. That's what we're reaching for. So when she comes back, yeah, definitely, I got to ask her because I'm really curious how her mentality coming to this fight has been different from her previous fights in her pro boxing career. So check her out tomorrow night. Country Box, she'll have the links out. And it's Monday, guys. It's beautiful here in Michigan. Enjoy the week. Kick some ass. And you guys are amazing. All right, guys, the prize is out. You have a good one. Check this new episode of Guys Time later today. And you guys are the best. Thanks for the support. All right, take care, guys. Have a good one.